screens because
Nobody's been able to talk.
Yeah, we haven't been able to ask
I think
follow-up
it should be
questions.
question answer time now.
Patients, I know it's
Yeah,
taking
we don't
time
need to
right
hash
now,
that
so
over. It's already
just give you a
been done.
recap of just the timeline.
I don't think we need to
So-
tell us that all over again.
I know.
what do you think, Jory?
You know, we should
All right.
just get up and leave because it's
And that's
not
totally up to
working.
you. So some folks, we heard feedback during this question process that folks wanted to hear just quickly through what the process is. Raise a show of hands of folks who wants to hear the process.
We know the process.
We've heard it.
Okay, so that's fair. So we heard feedback from someone, and so that's why we were introducing that. So now we're going to open it up to some follow-up questions. What I want to do is make sure that you start with your question. Sometimes we start with sort of our narrative or the point we want to make. If you could start with a question first to anchor everybody about what is on your mind. And then the other thing is, because of how many people are in the room and the amount of time that we have, we might have to limit the time to about a minute or so for each person to ask the question so that they can actually respond to it.
And let's have our panel give answers directly and not essay form.
So short answers is going to be important. So I see a couple folks in the back of the room. I see a lot of hands, so we'll move quickly. So I don't know which of the two of you.
Does anybody know if the Boise case is being appealed?
Question specific. Boise case being appealed. Vahid?
It was appealed, and it stood up to the last appeal.
Stood up to the last appeal, is what you said.
So when does the Supreme Court?
No.
Oh, so it's not finalized.
I don't shouldn't be talking about this. I don't know.
Ninth Court of
Good
Appeal.
call. It still stands at the moment of answer to the question. I'm going to walk down. I'm going to go to the order. I think I saw hands. You can introduce yourself and answer the question.
Hi, I live on Ancona, right down the street from the church, and I just want to know, are they required to continue to participate in the Providence program in order to stay at the church?
Good question.
Specific question. I'll bring that to Providence. I'll run up here.
So the conversations we've had thus far is my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is we are requiring that each participant at the very least meets with me once. It's against Better Outcomes Through Bridges principles to force somebody to work with us if they don't want to work with us. But that being said, I can be very persistent and very persuasive given enough lattes and donuts have been brought.
Persistence. So again, I'm going by the order. I think I saw hands, and I appreciate your patience. There was a hand came up right away here. Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I believe it's Michaela. So you said your job is to make sure that these people get a job if they don't have one. That's kind of your thing, right? So are you going to be there every morning to make sure that they leave that parking lot and go find a job and they aren't wandering the neighbors to do whatever we don't want them doing?
So there's a specific question about case management and what that entails.
Thanks. So as a case manager, I will not be a site monitor. Better Outcomes Through Bridges programs are very focused on client-centered goals. So they tell us what they want to work on, and we will walk alongside them through that process. Now, as I know that they are not supposed to be on the property, I will meet with clients out in the community, away from the property. I will certainly encourage clients to follow the rules and make sure that they understand the consequences if they don't follow the rules, because that has to do with their success in the program. But it will not be my role to enforce King of King rules. Did that answer your question?
The consequences if they don't follow your rules, what, they get kicked out of the program and they're just going to park in my front yard?
So the consequences for in terms of case management rules is, do you want to answer that question? Do you have any more to say about that?
I don't know if I have much more to say around that because case management and rules don't necessarily go together. We're working together towards goals. Rules is King of Kings.
Rules would be a goal.
Well, what about seeking
So
a
I want to
job?
respect the questions that other folks have as well, because I know a lot of people are being patient. I saw this person next.
Yeah, hi, Richard Jaskell. I live close to the church on Thiessen. Are structures of any type, permanent or temporary, a possibility in the future?
Structures, you mean physical structures? Of any type.
Tiny home for tents.
We'd like to
Conestoga huts.
Not at King of Kings.
So that's a very specific answer.
Thank you.
No ambiguity whatsoever. So no structures whatsoever. I think it was you, and then I believe you.
I'd like to ask Dan if, since there's a lot of people that are unhappy with this going in our neighborhood, how many signatures would you need on a petition from neighborhood people to consider there's something that is not,
There is no magic.
shouldn't be had in this neighborhood?
Yeah.
So that people can hear, we want to bring it back to you.
Are you sure I'm really loud?
So we want to make sure there's a lot of folks in this room. So you want to answer this question?
You can express your opinions however you see fit in regards to signatures, collections, etc. What I really would suggest that you do is take a look at the section of the code that it applies to. I was going to actually give that number to you. If you look at our zoning and development ordinance, hang on, it's section 1204, and it's specifically subsection 1204.02. And we evaluate every application that comes before us specific to certain criteria, and those are the specific criteria. So if you take a look at those and provide your opinions around those criteria, those are what are taken into consideration when we make the decision.
Thank you, Dan.
And so he answered it at first without the mic about there isn't a magic number. Can you repeat
Oh,
that?
I said there's no magic number, but I also said it's your right to express your concerns however you see fit. So if you wish to collect some signatures and bring those forward to us, we take all that information as public record. It's your comments and what comments you are providing.
Okay, so thank you. So I believe there was a question right here. Yes, you've been waiting patiently.
Okay, this is for the King of Kings Church. Why is it our responsibility to monitor your parking lot at night? And also, do you both live in the neighborhood?
So your question is about whether, the sense you got was that it was the neighborhood's responsibility to monitor their parking lot, was the sense.
They call us number at night.
So let's find out if that's accurate. Yeah.
And do you live in the neighborhood?
We live together in Milwaukee.
How far away?
10 minutes.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so we don't belong to a church that's in our neighborhood where we could do this. Our church philosophy has been for many years to help with housing, and this is a way that we think we can do it.
So answer my second question.
Okay, that's your second question, is where do we live?
No. Well, first that was my.
Okay, second question is?
Why is it our responsibility to monitor the church parking lot at night?
It isn't your responsibility. It's not your responsibility. All you have to do is go to bed and sleep and let these guests, which are houseless people, but not any different than you or I. Many people here could be houseless in a flash if they had a medical emergency or some other kind of problem. So our guests want to come and sleep. You please sleep. Do not watch over our guests. They don't need watching over. They just want to sleep.
So I did hear that if there is a concern, that you would entertain any concerns.
I have a follow-up question for King of Kings.
So hold on. So we're going to be respectful to the entire group because there are a number of hands. And if you want to raise a hand, please do.
So I think you're coming from a wonderful place. I think you're well intended, but I feel that you're being naive. And I've spent a lot of time researching other parking programs, In California, in San Diego, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, they have parking lot programs. They are fenced. They have nighttime security that's mandated by the state of California. They're dusted on programs. And people who participate are required to have valid driver's license, valid registration, and current insurance. So I feel, I'm talking about how I feel.
Given that, what would you request? What is your
Why
question?
are you not requiring more of your guests?
Can you say, can you require more?
Can you require, sorry, can you require, well, can you look to other programs that are parking programs and model after those that have gone before you and learned so that you don't make the same mistakes?
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, so this is more of like a request, so it's not necessarily something for you to answer, but feedback, right? Which is, can you think of, can you research and look at what other programs have done and try to model it so that similar mistakes are not made?
I'd make an ask, if you've already researched it, if you can provide them with that information, it might be equally as helpful.
It will be in my official comment.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, so along the same vein of, what's your name?
Sarah Ward.
Sarah, that if you have a comment, that you also couple it with what would your ask be? What's your request, or what is it that you would want King of Kings or any of the other folks that are up here to hear? Okay. I didn't mean to take over.
This will be quick. I hope this will be quick. I am Ben Ward, live on this lane, and I was curious. You said that this is a serious crisis that we're really trying to help and solve a problem here. So, coming from, I'm not sure exactly if this is Zahid, but how many people would be served based on who have actually requested services through you that you're not able to provide services for because this doesn't exist? What does that look like right now? I realize it's not in your CHA yet, but I'm just kind of brief. Yeah.
There's a lot of people. So at the last count in 2017, there were 2,300 people experiencing homelessness in Clackamas County. We're not able to serve even a tenth of those with the programs that we provide. What we can provide when someone calls CHA is access to a waiting list, and that's the best we can do at the moment. And sometimes those waiting lists are very slow. We have 5 program types that serve individuals experiencing homelessness that are not chronically homeless, right? They don't have a disabling condition, they haven't been outside for a year. 5 programs. There's 620 people on the wait list for those 5 programs. So more programming of that type that serves people experiencing homelessness around the county is going to help us. Every program slot is a boon to people on that waiting list.
But are those 600 people realistically
Living in vehicles.
Living in vehicles, or because if you didn't have a car, if you that's.
So can you repeat that?
Yeah.
So I said there's about 620 people on the waiting list who are single adults experiencing homelessness that aren't chronically homeless, and that's the subpopulation type most likely to be living in their car.
Got it.
Because people who are chronically homeless often do not have vehicles because they've accumulated poverty barriers, right? So now they don't have any kind of shelter at all. Yeah. People who just lost their apartment because they missed a paycheck because of a medical emergency, they're probably living in the car that that got them to the job that they lost, whatever. So that's the folks that live in vehicles are most likely to have recently lost their housing.
But you don't have a number on it.
I don't have a number of.
Right.
If I had Lauren here, I could say, I don't know if Lauren still here. Do we have a sense of how many people are living in their vehicles? Is that a data type?
Yeah, I'd say so. We get about 400 calls a month, and I talk to probably 10 people every week who are living in their car.
Okay. So Lauren said she talks to about 10 people every week that call coordinated housing access that are living in their car.
Out of the 400 total that call each month.
Out of the 400 total that call over a month.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So 10%.
Patiently, your question?
Yeah, I've got a question for Dean and pardon?
Gene, sorry.
Gene, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And in relation to King of Kings Church, he's mentioned a number of times the word "we," meaning King of Kings. It's a two-part question. How many members are in your church? And how many of those members have taken in somebody in their driveway or close proximity with a tent or somebody overnight and helped them out and has done something that close to them versus how close it's gonna be to some of us.
Okay. So how many people have direct
And
experience
how
with
many
this?
members do you have?
And how many members do they have in the church? If that's useful.
The exact number, the roster, if you will, is much greater than the number of people that typically attend services regularly.
Okay, how many attend services?
Between 45 and 80, depending on the typical Sunday. You know. And I know there are some people who have shared their homes with people who are having temporary homelessness issues. But I don't know of anybody who allowed people to put tents up in their front yard or other aspects.
I saw some
Specific
hands on the
question.
way back too.
In the way back. Okay, go ahead. Appreciate your patience.
I think the petition for people
Yes.
stop sign at Hill Road and at Alta Creek.
Hi, my name is Jeff Payne, and I live off of Francis up here. Has anyone done any, or know of any, what this does to the surrounding property values? It's a program pilot now, but if it's accepted and you bring more and more people into the program, what will that do to the surrounding property values?
Really specific question. I'm sure some other folks have this concern since you are here about property values. Vahid or Dan, do you know any guess on studies? This might be a research question, so.
We'll put Sarah on it.
Yeah, I can't get any answers on that.
Let's back up. It's not a permanent program. Like I told you before, it's a one-year program. The permit that we would issue is 1 year right now, okay? It's also limited by state statute to a maximum of 3 vehicles, so there's no expansion beyond that as well. So it's hard for me to tell you what the impact on property values are. Because impacts to property values are a product of long-term appraisals and that whole dialogue. We do discussions around impacts and return on investment all the time, but in regards to the short stay of this, I couldn't give you an idea. There'll be a perception around it, I think, and there'll be concerns, but some may be positive and some may be negative, so.
Do you know the state statute? Do you know what that one is by chance?
The question was, do I know the state statute that limits it to 3 vehicles? And we do over here, hang on.
How do you control that?
State statute is ORS 203.082.
Good job, Michaela.
203.082.
082.
Rock star.
Totally.
Mic drop. And I'm writing this general information down, ORS 203.82, if you can read my writing. Here's a question here.
Hi, my name is Ark. I live on Vista Court, right next to the church. The bushes separate our house from the church. And why not take them inside the church? Why do they have to sleep outside in their car? It'd be much warmer inside. There's facilities inside.
So a specific question about inside versus outside. I think this is a church question.
A number of years ago, King of Kings did this, took people in. It was called the Westwood House, is that right?
Westwood Guest.
Westwood Guest House. And do you know the years of that?
No, we had it for 12 years, and all of our clients came from the Annie Ross house. They were all vented. They were all, we checked on them, and they were there for 12 years. In our church,
Not the
living
same
in the
people though,
basement.
right?
And that,
Right.
excuse me?
The same people were
No,
there?
no, they were there.
So why not do it again? Hold on. So
Okay. We're not doing it again because we don't have the people capacity to do that. We don't have enough people that will volunteer and help. This is a program that takes minimal bodies to operate the program.
People that aren't going to do anything. They're just going to sleep without cause problems.
So there's more questions or something? I hear some follow-up questions, and I think it may be helpful to hear a little bit more about this past experience. Just a tiny bit about what that was, because
Just let me see your hand up for now.
Okay, yes, I'll get to you just one more. So was that yourself? Who was that? Yes. Just a quick.
It was called the Westwood Guest House. We had it for 12 years, and we had families. It was usually a single mom with kids that lived in the basement of our church. The reason why we could accommodate them was we have a kitchen down there. We have kind of a fellowship hall and a bedroom.
And they were there for 1 month probationary, and then they could stay there longer. We had people checking on them. Was never a problem in the neighborhood, and it went really well. We had it for 12 years.
Thank you. So a different experience, different time. Yes.
Sarah's going to tell us. What is it?
Parking would be listed.
That's the ones that put in your eyes.
This is for King of Kings. This is Nancy Cameron, that you've probably heard from for a long time. Do you guys even care what the community, the people that live right around your church feels about this situation? And how do you feel that that's going to bring the love of God? You're going to chase people away by alienating your neighbors in the actual neighborhood.
So I hear some real worry, and I hear a question of whether they care about your concerns or your feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, one evidence of that is they're here in front of you answering some difficult questions, which I can only imagine is challenging.
Without any doubt, both Mary and I deeply care about what our neighbors feel and think. It's a tough one, though. There's a balance somewhere where we have to act out what our compassion and care for a marginalized population is, with the risk of alienating good, hard-working, decent people. And we're just hoping that you can trust us a little bit.
Some response to that.
Hi, my name is Carrie. I live very close to the church. I would like to know from the county and also King of Kings, what kind of safety assurances have you promised the 9 people who will be living or sleeping overnight in your parking lot that could essentially become sitting ducks to unsavory characters that have heard about them? And what are you promising those 9 people safety-wise, since you don't seem to really want to address the neighborhood safety? Will there be cameras?
Okay, so this is a question about safety, but for the people who may be participating in the program. And you said the county first, and it was what, King of Kings?
And clarify the number, please.
Yeah, and clarifying the number of folks.
Yeah, maybe you guys can do that first.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so the number of people, just to begin with, we expect to have 2 vehicles, and as we see how that goes, we may add a 3rd.
And how many per vehicle?
Okay, there is not a rule that says you can have only 1 person or 2 people. I think it will depend on, like, a family. If we have a family that's a good match and it's a couple with 2 kids, then that's fine.
How are you keeping them safe?
Wait, one question
Okay.
at a time.
Okay.
We want to clarify the number first, and then they'll answer
What's
that.
a vehicle mean? Does that mean an RV?
Wait, pause.
Hold on.
Okay, so I think that our maximum is 9. If we had 3 vehicles, or if we had 2 vehicles that had 4 and 5, that would be it. That would be our number. Okay, so a vehicle is a car, a truck, or an RV of a Class B. Is that what it's called?
I think it's Class C. It's the van type RV vehicle, I believe.
That's smaller, that can fit in a parking space.
And
Class B is what's on the.
Okay, and then have them safe.
Okay.
Plus bands.
I believe that they will be safe sleeping in their vehicles with, okay, I hear laughing. Okay, because,
You don't live there.
right?
So yes, I hear laughter as well. I take that as skepticism, which makes sense. And I hear you, Mary, trying to answer this question of how you can guarantee safety for folks. And it sounds like what you're hoping is that they will find a measure of safety within the church grounds. And is there any concrete things that you can say that can add to that sense of safety for these folks, but especially for the folks who will be participating in this program? Okay, so I saw more hands. I think this was, yeah, you were next.
She gonna answer it or not?
She answered.
She said
there are
no.
others. So there's about 5 minutes to it.
There's 5 minutes, unfortunately, so there's a limited amount of time.
There is